I was walking on the beach with my dog where I live, and I had a neighbor that saw me and was looking out his kitchen window, and he was just, paying attention to me. Just wasn't any big deal. And so I walk on the sand, and then I come back on the street, and he has a dog, I have a dog, so we talk all the time. So when I came back on the street, he has his hand on his hip, and he says, "What's wrong with you today?" And I'm going, "I got a headache from hell." I said, "Why?" He says, "I watched you walking, you were falling." I said, "Bill, sand is not what I would call a stable surface. You're not walking evenly on sand if your foot's going down." I said to Bill, "Oh, Bill, it's just the sand. It isn't that I was stumbling." But he remembered that I said I had the worst headache I've ever had. And he went and said something to his wife, who used to be a nurse. She's retired now. Anyway, she didn't like that. So she made him go to my house with a blood pressure machine and made sure he took my blood pressure and going to report back to her. So it was elevated, but it was something like, 170 over 125. It isn't like 250 over something. Anyway, so she didn't like that. Even though it wasn't crazy figure, she just didn't like it. Maybe it was intuitive. So she comes over herself, knocks on my door, and this is the truth of what she said. She said, "Do you think I'm a nosy neighbor?" And I said, and I was confused. She took me off guard. I said, "No, Cynthia, I don't think you're a nosy neighbor." She says, "Well, good." She says, "Something's going on with you, and I'm asking you to let me call you an ambulance." And I'm shocked. And I'm going, "Well, why?" She says, "Well, like I said, something's going on with you. Just let a professional see you. That's all I'm asking you. Don't wait for your husband to come home. Don't drive yourself. Let me call you an ambulance." So more than likely she suspected what was going on, but she didn't want to panic me. She didn't want to go over and start screaming, "You're having an aneurysm." She just wanted to try and do it calmly. And so I'm looking at her and I'm going in my mind, well, she isn't a nosy neighbor. I know that she has a medical background. She isn't just pulling this out of her ass. And so I went, "Oh, I wasn't working that day. Why not? Why not?" I said, "Fine, Cynthia, go ahead and call it." So she says, "Oh, wonderful." And the reason why she asked for my permission is most of us know that we can refuse help, medical help. We can refuse it. So she had to have my permission in order for things to continue. So the ambulance gets here, we walk out, and she says, "Well, what's your husband's cell phone number?" And I'll call him. And I don't have like a *4, and that's automatically. I always do his number, 560, and then 9145, no, 526. I could not remember. I dial it 2 and 3 times a day, but all of a sudden I couldn't remember it. And I'm struggling with it. I'm going, this is crazy. But finally I get it out. She calls him. I step into the ambulance, which was a van. I don't remember anything till the next morning. Not a single thing. I never was unconscious. I never passed out. Something in my brain went off, because in reality, I am being traumatized. I just don't know it. My brain is traumatized. And so it just turned off. I still could hear people, I could still talk to people, but I was not connecting. So now I'm in the ambulance. They take me down there. They take a look at me. I had 2 surgeons. They said, "Oh yeah, she's in bad shape." I had been bleeding for a couple of days, which is unheard of. And if I got in a car, it'd been very easy for me to have an automobile accident, because it would get me and then I'd die instantly, and then I'd crash into somebody else. So now I'm at the hospital, and what they told my husband was that there is a 40% chance that she'll die within this 5 or 6 hour operation time. And after that, she'll go to a rehab for whatever period of time. And after that, she would go to a nursing home. Because...
How long ago was this?
2017. August 2017. So that going to the nursing home, because I wouldn't be able to take care of myself. Oh, sorry. And my husband wouldn't be able to take care of me, which was, the doctor was probably just saying I was going to be a vegetable. That's what he was saying.
Isn't that the power of the mind as far as you're concerned?
Well, it's a lot of things in the mind. The one thing is we can't heal our mind in the sense of, oh, I know something's wrong, let me heal it myself. Oh no, you've either done your homework where you're prepared to mentally deal with this, or you're not mentally able to deal with it.
What's remarkable is all the people you needed to be there, they were there.
Absolutely.
That is...
The intervention of both my neighbors were crucial, because what would have happened, right, if they didn't intercede, I would have had the headache, laid down going, oh, let me try and get rid of this headache, because I tried several things, it wasn't working, and I would have died on the sofa. So my husband coming home would have found me dead and not know what happened at all until an autopsy was done. So yes, what was that intervention? It was divine. I absolutely 100% agree. So,
well, what you didn't know is that I've been taping this because somebody needs to hear this.
Yeah.
You said this was divine intervention.
Oh, and there's more.
No one will ever convince you otherwise.
Never convince me otherwise.
Isn't
Never.
that remarkable?
It is remarkable.
And the thing that I find, that I find remarkable, all the people were there for you.
God had it all set up. He had it all set up, but I still had the choice to listen to what she said. I could have said, oh, Cindy, thanks, but no thanks.
Why didn't you?
Because I said in my head, she's not a crazy person. She has a reason for saying this. I'm not a medical person. I did say it was the headache from hell. I've never had a headache like that. That part is true. So she was just trying to help me, and that's how I looked at it. She wasn't trying to tell me what to do. She was just, as gently as she could, trying to get me in that ambulance to get me to a hospital, because I needed it. I was going to die that day without her both of their interventions.
Wow.
So now now it's the next day.
Yes.
And I wake up, and 4 feet from the end of my bed is a nurse's station or office or whatever you want to call it. Well, what does that mean? That means I'm in ICU.
With all the monitoring.
Yeah, I was in ICU. That's exactly what that means. The nurse's station, or is that close, only an ICU. So I understood where I was. Did I know why I was there? Nope. No, I didn't. It was funny. I never said anything to my husband. I never asked him, hey, what happened? Why am I here? For like 3 days. And finally he says, Melony, do you even know why you're here? I said, is it sinuses? He started laughing. He said, no, you had a brain aneurysm. Which is like, okay, I kind of know what that is, but not really. So anyway, so now I've got this brain aneurysm. I'm in ICU. They're making me, it was so hard. One thing was really hard. They were making me lift my legs only just slightly, because in all honesty, I was having a hard problems moving my legs. And they made me lift my legs like twice a day, and I'm going, please don't make me do this. And I could only lift them like that. But the whole thing is anything that was a common problem with aneurysms is you don't walk afterwards. So they wanted to keep that something going along in my legs, And of course, I'm totally bedridden. I'm hooked up to everything in the world behind me. And I'd like to add, not once did I ever turn around and look at it, because I didn't want to put that in my head. I did not want to put it in my head that I was being kept alive or monitored through a machine. That was a little bit too scary for me.
This is visualization, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
The power of imagination.
Imagination. In this case, not seeing it instead of seeing something. So I'm in ICU for about 2 weeks. I had one problem. I was running a temperature that I had for 2 weeks. It would not go down. They would not allow me to go to therapy and leave ICU until my temperature went down. Now what they gave me was a sheet, no blanket. Now we all know hospitals are cold. They are not warm. So I am freezing to death. I'm so cold. You know how you just hold yourself, you're just trying to keep that heated. I'm just doing everything. And finally, after 13 maybe days, I said, "Dear Lord, I've done everything the doctors and nurses have asked me. Everything. I've been cooperative. I haven't looked at what's behind me. I've kept an open mind, positive. I'm not saying, oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh, what is going to happen to me? I'm not saying any of those things. I'm just trying to stay clear and clean and without deciding what's going on before I even know what's going on." So I could get back to the temperature. So I'm saying, God, please, help me with this. I've just done everything that I can. And as soon as I finished this prayer, and I'm not exaggerating, I felt a hand on my wrist, just like this, on this hand. And when I did, it shot up heat all the way here and all the way down this arm, came back and down my legs. And I mean like 3 seconds. But it was so noticeable. It was just like lightning, or not lightning, just this heat thing. But it was like it went through all my blood. That afternoon, the hospital took everything off on this one arm. So that showed me, without them telling me, that my temperature got back to normal. The next morning, took everything off on this arm. I was free from all the machines that were around me, was able to get out of bed and walk for the first time in probably 12 or 13 days. So, once I got to rehab, I was not a standard patient. I guess you'd call it a patient. I didn't wear tennis shoes. I wanted to wear flip-flops, and I walked down the halls with no problems. On several occasions, the nurses or the employees there would ask me, "Are you looking for a particular room?" Because I'd go up and down the halls, and I'd say no. I said, I'm staying here. And they go, "Oh, no, you're not." And I'd show them, see my plastic bling, which means my name, showing that, yeah, I was there for help. In that time, I was board of my church, on the board of my church, and I happened to be president, and we were in between ministers, and we had to vote on a new minister to see if that we would offer her a job. Well, I couldn't leave, so I had all the board members come to me at rehab. We got a room, and we made the decision and carried on church business. Right. So this is not something someone would normally do. They wouldn't walk the halls in flip-flops. They wouldn't, have meetings with individuals. And what it showed is my brain was still processing. I had a memory. I could process. I could think about decisions in the future. It showed me there was no damage to my brain. So, they eventually let me go because, of course, they put me through all these tests and I aced them all. because I didn't have balance problems. You know, it was just the blood that was seeping or exploding in my brain. That was the problem. They stopped the bleeding. They thought that I was so damaged that I wouldn't be the way that I am. But that's not the way that happened. And there's no way I could have willed myself to health. That was also God's hand. Now, some people would say, well, if it was God's hand, why did it happen in the beginning? Well, I was in a nasty situation with an individual that had escalated and was almost out of control, I would say. Verbally out of control. This individual wasn't backing down, and I wasn't backing down, and it was only going to get worse and worse and worse. So God came in and he changed the situation. He immediately stopped the negativity and the anger between myself and this individual. Oh, and then let me tell you, it's not just an individual, it was my minister. So this is like, oh my goodness. So now I'm in rehab. It's funny. It's just so funny, the whole thing. You know, they bring in therapy people. I don't even remember the names of it. So occupational therapy, that was one of them. So he comes in, and let's say his name's Rob, don't remember. He says, well, I'm here to see how well you can take care of yourself while you're here. He says, so I'm going to have you go through some stuff. I went, oh, okay. So he says, okay. He says, let's go out in the hall and let's see how well you walk. He says, so put on your tennis shoes. I went, I don't have any tennis shoes. So when he saw the flip-flops, he going, well, that's not very stable. I said, this is what I want. He said, okay. So we go out in the hall, and he takes this long leather belt and he wraps it around me, and he holds, yeah, safety first, exactly, and he holds the other end. He says, now, I want you to do exactly what I tell you to do. No matter what. Exactly. I'm not going to do something stupid, but do exactly what I tell you to do. And so I'll tell you what he said and what the meaning was. He says, so I want you to take 6 steps forward. So you take 6 steps forward. He says, I want you to turn 180 degrees. Now, what that meant is my brain had to go 180 degrees. Okay, that's half of a circle, so he wants me to turn around. Did he say turn around? No, because he wants to know what my brain is doing. Am I understanding? Can I function on terminology that is not normally used? So it took me a second, because I'm going, okay, circle 360, 180. Oh, okay, so I turn around. And he says, okay, I want you to take 3 steps to the right. Another thing, did I know my left from my right? Okay, another thing, how's that brain working? And how are those legs working? Is the message getting to my legs and on my feet, and am I stumbling? Just what am I doing? So I went 3 things, and he says, now I want you to come back. And he had me do something. He says, now I want you to walk 2 steps forward and turn 360 degrees. So I'm, okay, 2 steps and then turn totally around, which means I was at the same spot, right? You're at the same spot. So that satisfied him. He saw that I could process directions that were given in non-standard ways. Physically, I could do what he told me to do, so the brain was getting the message to my legs, was getting the message to my arms. So he says, okay. So we go back into the room. He says, okay, now I want to see how you get out of bed. So I want you to get in bed. And then he put up that side bar. He says, and you pretend you're sleeping and then decide you need to get up. I said, okay. So by him telling me that, what I did is I put my shoes next to the bed, because that's what I would do. And so he says, okay, wake up. So I wake up. And he says, and I want you to get up and I want you to stand up and act like you're going to the bathroom. I said, all right. So he says, get up. So I wake up. I pull myself up through the bar. So now I'm sitting. Then I put my shoes on, stand up, and then go towards the bathroom. Because once again, am I understanding? Can I do this? I can walk, but can I do it after laying down? So these are all tests. These are all tests on how I'm understanding and how I'm processing what he's doing. So that was my therapy, what was it called? Something therapy. Shoot, I already forgot.
I got.
Yeah, whatever it was called. So he looked at me and he says, okay, so what do you do when you get in the shower? I said, well, they've got the emergency things in 2 places. I said, so if I have any problems, but I'm not going to take a shower unless someone is here. In case I do fall down, I just will feel more comfortable, even if they're sitting out in the room, so I could yell for help if I couldn't reach one of the cords. And so he was comfortable with that. So afterwards, he says, okay, I have one suggestion. He says, when you pull yourself up and sitting in bed, he said, look all the way to the left, look all the way to right. Basically, get yourself loose. Just make sure you're balanced. He said, that's my only suggestion. I said, well, okay, I can do that. He says, you won't need to see me anymore. I had 1 hour of therapy.
That is remarkable.
Remarkable. It was remarkable. Absolutely.
The other thing that's remarkable is that I had the cognitive, I don't know if it's the right word, I was talking to a teacher, so I've got to watch my words.
That's right, watch out.
So I am so happy that I recorded this, because this is an episode. This is a show.
It was amazing. And
there are so many elements to this story.
Right. Now weeks later, months later, when you're looking at it with different eyes than it just happening, I really realized that God intervened for my benefit. Now someone says, well, brain aneurysm is pretty strong intervention. Well, true. No doubt about it. But he wanted me to stop my behavior. Not next week, not tomorrow, right now. And so he made sure. Why did I do so well? Because he knew that with my situation I was having with my minister, it was destructive, but it was not malice. I wasn't trying to do something terrible to her. We were arguing on opinions on how things should be done or not done. Not personality issues of not liking each other. It wasn't that at all. But it escalated to such a degree over such a period of time, it wasn't getting better. Neither of us were backing down. So something had to be done. So it was a divine intervention. And in that, he didn't want me to be harmed. That's why I did so well. That's why I didn't have problems, and I had my faculties with me, and I did my recovery on such a short period of time. I was in ICU basically 2 weeks, and therapy for 2 weeks. So 1 month after I had a major issue, a health issue, I was out of the hospital. And there were all sorts of extra blessings. Like one night, for whatever reason, they gave me my medication at night. So woman come in, I don't know, about 8:30, 9 o'clock, right before you go to bed, and she'd be giving me my little medications. And this one particular one, I'd only seen her twice. She says, the nurse says, I've seen you walk around here. I said, yeah, I've been here, a week or whatever it was. And she says, you just didn't act like all the other people that come here. She says, so I really noticed. She says, may I ask you what happened? And I told her about the brain aneurysm, and she goes, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And something in that conversation, she confided in me that her brother was experiencing something similar. At this point, I don't remember what it was. But at the end, when she left, she said, I am so glad I did your medication tonight, because I needed to hear what you had to say. And it wasn't for her, but it was for her brother. So, and that was the only night I saw that nurse. That was the only time I saw her.
So, if I may, that was your ministry, your experience, and was your ministry.
Right.
Just as in taping this, somebody is going to see it and going to go.
And another, I call them lessons, my family and my friends that came to the hospital or visited me during that period of time were amazed on how well I was doing. They were seeing, especially when I was in surgery, I was a miracle. I'm one of the people that someone talks about and said, this shouldn't have happened, but it did. All my friends and family saw for themselves what happened. It wasn't what I said. They saw it for themselves. And that's how God works. You know, sometimes it's a terrible incident, but it comes out well, and you're going, that just didn't happen by coincidence.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Do I have your permission to use this tape?
Of course. Of course.
Very good.
Of course.
Thank you so very much.
Well, let me tell you another story. Do you got time? Do you have time?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
But hang on.
We're going on to the next story. Okay, next story is the brain aneurysm happened in August 2017. What it did to me physically after I got out of all the hospitals, it just took all my energy away. And that was the whole purpose.
Is that distracting when you can see yourself?
No, it's okay.
Because that's your audience.
The point was I needed to change my behavior immediately. And believe me, a brain aneurysm did it.
You needed to
change my behavior immediately. And that's because I was arguing with my minister heavily, constantly, continuously. It needed to stop. She wasn't going to back down. I wasn't going to back down. So, like I said, that was August 2017. In January 2018, I think on the very same date as the brain aneurysm, my husband Fritz and I had just come back from a small little cruise, you know, just 5 days in and out down the Caribbean, and we got home that night. I'm sorry, I don't recall what day it was, and we're settling down. We got in about 5 or 6 o'clock. We're just settling down, watching some TV, enjoying the dog, and go to bed about 10:30-ish. So I had sinus issues, so I couldn't fall asleep. I'm, laying on this side, then laying on this side, and then on my back. I just couldn't breathe. So I get mad. I lay in bed about at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, struggling with my sinuses. Finally, I get up because Melony can fall asleep watching TV on the sofa. So I say, I'll go to the second floor with my dog, and then we'll turn on the TV and I'll fall asleep there, and at least I'll get some sleep. So I'm starting to get comfortable. I haven't turned on the TV yet, and I hear this really big bang that sounds like it comes from the third floor. And I'm going, well, that's strange. It was such a big bang, like a transformer that would be on a telephone pole. If you've heard any of those ever erupt, that's how big the sound was. So I'm going, well, it couldn't be that because my lights are still working, because we do have a transformer right at the street where I live. But in my mind I said, that isn't right. It was way louder than if someone fell or a piece of furniture fell or anything like that. So I immediately got up. Now I'm not running, but I immediately got up and started walking upstairs. In our bedroom, we have a sliding glass door, double door, that goes onto a small deck right next to our bedroom, right off our bedroom. And I have shears there. So when I came into the room, I noticed there was a light coming through the shears. And I went, oh, the city installed a new light pole while we were on vacation. So I go over to I don't know why I did this, why I went to this. I just moved the shears slightly, and it wasn't a new city light, street light. It was fire that was about as tall as I was and the corner of my deck. So immediately you're not believing what you're seeing. You're stunned. You're just looking at it, and then you go, oh my God, that's fire. So first thing I do, yell out, fire! And I go, my husband's asleep, and I go over and I start jumping on him and pouncing on him. He is not waking up. And that was so unusual for him, because usually when somebody says fire, boy, people change their behavior instantly. So he's kind of coming to, he's a little groggy, and then his eyes are rolled back in his head, and I'm going, what is going on here? But anyway, at the time that I'm doing this, I hear someone banging on our front door, and I know that it is someone who has been outside and they saw the fire from the outside, because it did not start from the inside of the house, it started on the outside of the house. I knew they were just trying to warn us and wake us up, but I was already awake. I was not going to leave my husband. So seconds later, I hear this man's voice repeating, where are the people? Where are the people? Where are the people? And I yell, third floor! So he comes up, he says, you got a fire? I said, I know I got a fire. I said, but I can't get my husband to wake up. He says, I'll take care of him. What, do you have children? I said, no, but I've got an animal in the other room, a parrot. He says, go get the parrot and I'll take care of your husband. I said, okay. Now, he was a neighbor. Did I know him? No, but anyway. Oh, and one thing that I didn't tell you, the weather. There was approximately 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. The wind was hollering, very, very windy, cold, nasty, damp weather. That's what it was outside. So I go in the other bedroom to get my parrot. He's in a very large cage that's on wheels. I do have an elevator. I'm thinking in my head, am I going to roll his cage into the elevator? Well, they tell you, don't get in an elevator at a fire. And even though the elevator was on the other side, I chose not to get in the elevator, which means I had to transfer him from his big cage to a small cage, like when I take him to the vet. So, of course, and I knew where the cage was, so I got the cage, and I stick my hand in his cage. He, of course, was sleeping. Now the fire alarms are going off in the house. So now we got that wham, wham, wham noise. He sees me put my hand in there with all this noise going. He bites the hell out of me and flies to the floor because he's thinking that I'm going to have him for dinner. That's their mentality. Why would she go in my cage and try and grab me at night? She's never done that before. So he's on the floor, and now I'm, on my hands and knees trying to get him, saying, please God, let me get him. Please God, let me get him. Finally get him. As soon as I put him in the cage, I hear the man yell up, where are you? Where are you? I said, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Because he said, when you get your bird, we are leaving the house together, all of us, your animals, your husband, and you and I, we're all leaving together. We're not leaving separately. Now, what he did is he got my husband, he went to the second floor because the threat was really on the third floor, not the second, at this point. So he's calling me, where are you? Where are you? I said, I'm coming. So I finally get the bird. I come down. Oh, and I also have on is a robe. And my husband, sorry, ladies, but he doesn't sleep with any pajamas. So he doesn't have, my neighbor just threw a blanket around him. That's all he had. We walk out of the house, no shoes, no phones, no purse, no wallet, no money, no identification, nothing but our robe and our blanket and our 2 animals. That's all that we took.
And it is super cold.
And it's super cold.
And the wind is...
Right. Barreling. And so that's what we did. And then we all together went to a neighbor's house, because now the sirens are all up. All the neighbors are up. They see it's a fire. So everybody's up, and it's probably, I don't know, 1-ish in the morning. The firemen put out the fire about 4. They came to us at the neighbor's house and say, okay, we think we have the fire out. So now it's time to, okay, need to try and go to bed and sleep. Well, we can't come back here to the house. So another neighbor says, well, I got an extra bedroom, come over there. So I get there, and I'm staring at the ceiling like, what in the hell just happened? You just can't believe all the circumstances. But that adrenaline gets you going and gets you out of there and gets you to do what you need to do. But now that all the adrenaline and the fire's out, and I'm just going, what happened? Why wouldn't my husband wake up? That was one of the things. I'm going, that seems so unusual. So the next day, I say, Fritz, why didn't you wake up? Why were you so groggy? I mean, you like opened your eyes and then rolled your eyes in the back of your head and out you went. I said, what was going on with you? And he looks down at the floor and says, well, he says, I still had a lot of the motion from the cruise ship. I'm still going, because we've been on it for the last 5 days. He says, so I took a sleeping pill. I went, oh, that answers why you're so groggy. Got it. But now let's go back to the man that helped my husband and myself. And that's another thing. What was he doing outside at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning that he could see fire on the outside of my house? So I at one time went to him, and months later, because I had to move out of the neighborhood, I said, what made you do? He says, my dog needed to go out. He says, and that was really funny because I had already taken the dog out for his little nightly walk, and that we already did that. But for some reason, the dog started acting up really bad and would not quiet down until the husband put clothes on and the heavy shit and took the dog out. When they went out, they came my way instead of the opposite way. He saw it because he was walking his dog in a winter storm at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Divine intervention.
Another divine intervention. And there's even more with this gentleman. So the next morning, because I'm thinking of all these things, I'm going, how in the hell did that guy get in our house? I never opened the door. It's not like he had a key. And I'm thinking, oh, he just must have busted, because I have little windows next to the door. I said, he must have busted a window. And when you go out, that's the last thing you're looking at is the window and the front door. You're just trying to survive. So I'm going, that's what he must have done. So I go back to the house the next morning, can't go in because they won't allow you. The fire people, there's one that was manning the property. And I saw no window was broken and the door wasn't busted down. Going, how did he get in it? Well, I found out that my dear neighbor that I didn't know, whose name is, I know it. Okay, can't think of it in a moment. He was an ex-fire, a policeman, and he worked with the SEAL team. Huh. Now, we're local people around a Navy base, and SEAL teams are highly educated, skilled individuals that get in and out of places without you knowing it. Okay? I'll just be as direct as that. So he knew how to get in my house without busting anything down. It had to be the hinges. It just blew me away that there was nothing wrong with my door or my windows around the house. And I really started wondering, how did he get in my house? So when I found out he had this background, okay, that made sense. But it was still another divine intervention. It wasn't just a regular guy walking his dog. It was a guy that could get in my house, because I was not going to leave my husband. I wasn't going to leave. The fire was in the next room to our bedroom.
Wow.
So not only did, the fire, but I had the divine intervention of a neighbor whose dog made him go out, and he helped my husband get out. My husband was dead weight. There is no way I could have gotten him out. I'm thinking, am I going to push him down the stairs? Am I going to take him and get him in the elevator? Am I going to wait for the firemen to get here? All these possibilities are going in my head, and I'm just going, I don't know what to do. And he came at the right time. Now, let's look at a little bit further down the road. My husband and I were out of the house for 15 months. That's a year and a quarter. That's a long time. You come back the next day and you see valuables that are destroyed, watered, charred, missing, a variety of things. Your emotions are all over the place because you just can't believe the destruction that was done. And in all truthness, the destruction came more from the water and not the fire, because the fire was at least contained, because it was found out early enough. It stayed on the 3rd floor and the roof and never went to the 2nd or the 1st floor. But the water coming from the roof down and went through all the floors, all the walls, all the ceilings. Days later, so much water was in the ceiling, above. Okay, our bedroom, the ceiling that's underneath that was our formal dining room. That entire ceiling fell down and broke my dining room table and 7 chairs. It did save one. So, but it's just showing the destruction, not from the fire, but from the water.
Yeah.
Okay, from the water. Now, a couple days later, we had to move out. You no longer have heat. Our pipes froze and broke. So 2 or 3 days later, all this water is coming from here, from there, getting frozen because it's still cold. So it was a mess. It was a big mess. But all during that
you had
time,
to completely rebuild, huh?
Yes. Yeah. All the walls, all the floors, the electrical, the air conditioning, the plumbing. Didn't have to replace the concrete floor in the garage, but that was kind of the only thing. And if it wasn't totally ruined, that was partially ruined. Like the deck on the 3rd floor, that one, but the 2nd floor deck, which is same size, same place, wasn't as damaged. Because like I said, they contained it to the 3rd floor. So what was the lesson there? Or what was the silver lining? Because I do believe, excuse me just for a second, I got to read it because I can't remember everything. I have this saying, show me the gift when something goes bad. Show me the gift, teach me the lesson. Yeah. Right? So I'm applying it to the fire. Show me the gift and show me the lesson. Well, there's a lot of destruction here. What positive thing can you get out of it? Just like what positive thing can you get out of the aneurysm? There's a silver lining to all things. You just have to look for it. You don't want to. You can't imagine what could possibly be good out of this. But what was good about the fire? I got everything brand new. I got everything brand new.
Oh, yeah.
Since the water damage ruined my kitchen, ruined the walls, ruined the floors. I got all new floors. I was able to redo my kitchen, which means, ladies, new cabinets, new countertops, I could move stuff around. I had to stay with the same basic pattern, but I could still move some stuff around. I was able to get almost a brand new house out of this fire.
And this is one gorgeous house, including the elevator.
And also in retrospect, my husband passed away 4 years ago, so now this is all my responsibility, and it's made it a lot easier that I have brand new house versus a 20-year-old house. So that was the silver lining around that. Were there other lessons that I learned? Of course. You know, when you see things that you've saved up and spent money on, or you had a collection of something, or, you know, a variety of things, you realize what was important. The 2 people and the 2 animals got out of the house. That's what was important. The other things could be replaced. Of course, yes, some pictures can't be. I got it. But look, we had someone that helped my husband, that alerted us and got in the house. And I'm sure he's the first one that made the phone call to the fire.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind. He's the first one that did it. Because it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Who's awake?
These lessons of life.
So, and it just humors you somehow that these things happen. Look for the silver lining. There are blessings around catastrophes. There are blessings in the midst of all this.
Somebody once said, there's no good or bad, just experiences.
That could be. That could be.
And what was that beautiful quote you just did? About, remember?
Well, show me the gift, teach me the lesson.
Ah, yes.
So when you have things that you're confused about or that seem to be very negative, there are things. Be open-minded enough to accept that maybe I need to change. Maybe my attitude needs to change. Maybe my behavior needs to change. Maybe my living habits need to change. Something needs to change in myself, not outside of myself. Inside myself. Yes. And the stronger the incident, the tragedy, the more serious you need to jump on it. That's not a little casual thing. This is a major change.
Got it.
I've got one more terrific story to tell you.